I'm Megan Hamilton, and this is the Embracing Enchantment podcast. I first heard about our guest through a friend who raved about our local psychic with a TV show. She's Kingston's JoJo Savard. I started to follow her on social media, and when she announced a Tarot and Lenormand conference, I think I bought my ticket in about 3 minutes. I am so excited today to welcome my friend, Marilyn Shannon. Marilyn, welcome, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Megan. I'm happy to be here. It's always fun to talk to a fellow tarot person and other things, but thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. I felt that way when I walked into the room at the conference in October. I walked in and I thought, oh, this is so cool. I'm going to get to talk to everybody here about the same things that we're all interested in.
Yes. It is amazing when you walk in that room at the conference. Yeah.
It really, yes. And that, and I have a question about that will certainly be coming up, but it all is from you and, who you are and the people that are drawn to you, I think that's the central point. And so you really walk in and you just go, whoa, this is quite a positive energy. Okay, so I'm going to pull a tarot card for us to sort of set a tone and set the theme. And I'm wondering, as I'm doing that, and you all will hear me shuffling in the background, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can watch me shuffle. But Marilyn, I'm wondering if you can, I was reading about, your childhood and about, how you sort of discovered that you had these psychic gifts. And I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit to that as I'm shuffling cards here.
It started when I was very young, but of course you don't know because you're just doing what you do. But I used to, if something was bothering me, I grew up on Treasure Island, and the St. Lawrence River is right there, and we lived on these. It's all granite stone, so it's all vibrating. But there's probably still there, a little spot on the rocks down in front of the house, out of sight, and there was a little shelf that I could sit on. And when things were bothering me, I would go and I would sit on that little spot and look out over the river. Or if it were very calm, I could see down into the rocks on the floor of the river. And I would sit there and I wouldn't thrash things out. I would just sit there and I'd watch the river, I'd watch those rocks, and eventually I'd have an answer. And I'd come up out of there and I'd know what the answer was, what to do, how to proceed. And it wasn't that I was, as I said, I didn't bang things around in my head or over and over and mull it and stuff. I just let it all flow in front of me and the answer would come. So I would know what to do.
I love that. And you were 12.
Yeah.
And did anyone teach you that, or did that just come to you?
It just came to me. Excuse me, my voice just takes a hike every once in a while. It just came to me. But, my mom was very forward thinking. We had a Ouija board in the house. I didn't know Ouija boards were evil. They were just fun, And when I was ready to get a tarot deck, off we went to town because, you weren't walking over to the Kingston Center. You had to get a ride into town. So, and my mom and I would know things together. So Mom, what's going on at home? I can't sleep. I was in Florida. My brother was sick. Well, I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want to upset you. Well, I haven't slept for 3 nights, so something's going on. So we had that connection that we never spoke of, but it was there. So.
That's so neat. A previous guest on the podcast, Amy Miranda, talked about growing up in a house full of, mediums and witches, and that's not necessarily what they would have called themselves, but they would have the gifts. And then sort of once she came of age, that would be, they would share as well. And I love that you were supported in this, instead of, what can often happen, which is, the opposite. And then you might lose what has been coming to you. Okay, so I'm gonna pull a card here, and because Marilyn is a very gifted tarot reader, I'll give my interpretation of the card or whatever the message is that I feel would be helpful for the collective, and then we'll let Marilyn speak as well. So what do we need to know? Okay, the star reversed. So if you want to head over to YouTube, you can take a look at what the star reversed looks like. Marilyn, do you read reversals?
Yes and no. I don't get all excited about them. If they seem pertinent, okay. I often read the upright card is what you're doing out there, and what the reverse card is what you're doing internally.
Yes, that's how I like to read it too. I borrowed that from Biddy Tarot, but I like that as a concept. Okay, so with the star reversed, yeah, the star is about hopefulness, and Marilyn and I off camera were talking about that a little bit. And as you know, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that that's one of the reasons I wanted to create the podcast, was to build hopefulness, because I think that that's how things can change. And one of the ways that hopefulness can be helpful is if we also have the courage to move forward and to remain hopeful, even when it might seem like an impossible task. We're hopeful to be able to make change, that the things that we would like to see in this world are possible. And with the card reversed, I'm wondering if this is asking us, what's getting in the way right now of your hopefulness? If you're not feeling hopeful, and God, who could blame you? But if you're not, what could change for you in order to start to invite little trickles of hope back in? What mindset shifts might you do? And I hate to only ever focus on mindset shifts, because they're only good if we take action. What action can you take to rebuild your connection to hopefulness, to build the trust that might come from small actions towards a bigger impact? Marilyn, what might you say?
So the star card comes after the devil in the tower. All right. And it's so the devil
Heavy
in the
hitters.
tower, well, they're chaos and mayhem.
Yeah.
And then we hit the star. And the star is a card of stop. Stop focusing on chaos and mayhem. Stop focusing on all of that external energy. If I look at this card as being reversed as the work that I'm going to do within, I need to focus on what it is that I am able to shift or change or do without feeling I have to do everything. So if this is for the collective, and we're all in chaos and mayhem in one way or another these days, how do I shift the focus to where I can make a difference? First within me, as you say, finding that hope, reaching out to my community, and keeping it really simple. And that will shift the energy. It always does.
I love that. Thank you. I love that. The idea of keeping it simple, right? Because we can get so hung up on these grand plans, or what happens if this, and what's that phrase? Basically, like, not Jesus take the wheel, but like let go and let God, or something like
Yes.
that, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
this figure in that card is not doing anything but pouring the energy back in or back out. This is not a time to do a whole lot.
I love it.
Not at all. Yeah.
And you know what's funny? I'll tell you what. I literally just sent an email to my group called Be a Vessel That Pours. And I was
Yeah.
thinking of the star card the whole time. So there you go. There you go, everybody. Marilyn's influence has already begun. So, what is the difference between intuition and psychic information?
I'm not sure I know. I don't
Fair.
know that I have a strong definition that they're different. Intuition, to me, because so much of my information comes from knowing. All right. How do I know? Is that intuitive? Some things are intuitive. Other things, I have a little voice that talks in my right ear. Is that the psychic side of me talking? Perhaps. But I haven't really decided I need to separate the two. To me, either one is sort of outside myself, but being offered to me to pick up or not, listen to it or not. Some of the psychic hits maybe are in a reading. When I'm reading for someone, I have no idea who or what they're about. Is that a psychic hit where the intuitive hit is get groceries because they're going to break down the bridge and we're not going to be able to move out of here. So to me, it's very subtle, very subtle. And why do we have to get worried about terms too much?
I absolutely agree with you. I had an episode a few back about whether or not magic is real. And the answer is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's whatever floats your boat, essentially, whatever is working for you, whatever you feel, whatever you're trusting, that's what we go with. And you're right. The words don't matter. It is the feeling or the gift, essentially, of the knowing. And, I love that you talked about here and also on your website. And I watched a little bit of a video that you had created a while back about just knowing things and not realizing that other people didn't know things. And I think it's really interesting that you've got the little voice coming into your ear. One of the clairs, obviously, was that voice always there? What does the voice sound like? And is the voice always accurate?
The voice is a prankster in many ways. It's been there as long as I can remember, all right? And I tended to ignore it when I worked many years in the psychiatric hospital. And you weren't talking about voices in your head back then. It sounds like a cliche, but you just didn't. And so then when people started talking about channeling, I thought, well, what is this channeling? Well, it's hearing voices. Oh, I think maybe I could talk about it now because I'm not working there anymore. So, but it's a big, huge thing to overcome, that people think you're strange or weird or possessed. So to overcome all of those things and come out and say, yes, I have a voice here in my head. Sometimes in a reading, it'll tell me what I need to know. Sometimes it'll just sort of laugh, and it's a male voice. I don't know a name for it. I've never been given a voice, but it's a male voice. And it'll say, there's more there. You better keep looking. Could you not just tell me?
Yeah, right.
We're in the middle of just speed this up, but they don't. It doesn't always do that, which is fine, because then it's easy to give a pat answer with a card. This card means, so this is what it means. But when you've got a little voice saying there's more there to this, so you start to look into that card and you think, what is there? In my star, in this deck I have at my elbow, there's a phoenix in the background. It's the only deck I have that will have a phoenix in the star card. So what does it mean? Okay, so why have we got this deck? Why have we got this card? What else is there that I wouldn't see in any other card in all the decks that I have? So that's when that little voice is saying, take another look, you know?
Yes. And is it always the voice whenever you have unknowing? Is it always the voice telling you, or is it more just a sense of, I know this to be true?
Well, now this is an interesting maybe difference between intuition and psychic. All right, the voice will more be a voice downloading information or teasing me that there's more. The other side, the knowing, is just a knowing. There's no voice. You just it's like, yeah, I got it. It's sort of a nod of the head and on we go. So there's a subtle difference in how that comes. And sometimes when I'm doing readings, it's like, oh yeah, this is the direction this wants to go in. And so as I'm looking at a spread before I start a reading, it's like, and then it's like, ah, yeah, I got it. And then the voice will kick in if it's in the mood. Doesn't always. If I'm doing okay, it might leave me alone, but it'll, yeah. So there's those two,
The
two or three things.
So I'm so curious about this voice. Does the voice ever come at really inopportune moments? Like when you just really want the voice to be quiet?
Well, yes, yes, yes. There are times. There was a time here a while back that I was dating, and the voice was not a very helpful thing to the dating world in my life. Yeah, why are you doing this? You know better. Yeah, well, here we are, sort of thing. So, yes, it's not always, or it's not always helpful. It's helpful, but it's not always welcome, as you say. Yeah.
And can you summon the voice, or does it just come whenever it wants to?
I don't know that I've ever summoned the voice. I probably summoned knowing more. Because knowing is like that star card. Funny you would choose that sitting and being still and listening to where hope is. Where is the way forward? That's a knowing. And that's how I do my readings. So the voice is, I don't think I've ever summoned the voice. Summoned knowing, but not the voice.
And has the voice always been there too?
I think so. Yeah, as long as I can remember. Yeah.
Oh, that's so neat. Okay. So are you, I guess this is maybe what we're asking as well. Can you also practice mediumship?
Yes.
Okay. And is the mediumship always with the voice, or is the mediumship with the spiritual world?
So the first thing is that when I'm home with these babies, a spirit will often show up in this crystal ball. All right, as rainbows. So I'll know that a spirit is available and wants to speak to someone. The other aspect is a knowing. There's someone here. Now, I worked in a psychiatric hospital and a jail for over 30 years. I'm not letting every spirit out there in. So when I do mediumship, it is that I ask, who would you like to speak to? All right. And when did they die and so on. I go and I find their energy wherever they may be. I like to know when they passed, how long ago, because I had someone, their mother passed on a holiday in England many years ago. And so I know when, oh, I'm so sorry, that thing. The spirit arrives. I'm sorry. The spirit arrives, and but it's a knowing. That spirit just kind of floats in, and I can feel the shift in the room, and that the spirit has arrived. And that spirit took forever to come because she'd been gone a long time. And sometimes spirits won't. They'll come, but I can't quite get to them yet because they have to decide if it's safe for them to speak to me. So I'll often know that that spirit was very wary of people, new people, because they're wary of me and stuff. So it's more a knowing than the voice. I will hear messages, but it's more knowing than the voice in my ear.
Right. Which is right. Okay. So on the one hand, you are getting very specific about who your client would like to speak to. And on the other hand,
Yes.
there's the voice that just pops in willy-nilly and
Yes.
and says stuff. This is so fascinating. Okay. I want to ask you a million questions about this now. So have you ever had the experience? So if a spirit comes to you and is tentative, have you had the experience where they're not able to, where they're there, but they're not able to connect?
Only once. Only once. And what came was someone had died in an accident, okay? Doing things maybe they shouldn't have been doing, if we put it that way.
Okay.
And the mother, that person's mother, wanted to connect. But he did not want to connect with his mother because he was ashamed. And so I could get a lot of information that was accurate, but he was not willing to really speak to his mother because he was ashamed. So we got, and she validated that. We got that information, and I let it go at that because you have to respect spirits as well.
Is there reparation that can happen in the spirit world? So if would the mom, then take it upon herself to sort of let her past son know it's okay?
Yes.
I'll accept. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, she can. She can. And that's happened, people say, oh, my often a mother, often a mother, sometimes a father, but often a mother passed and I haven't heard from her and da-da-da-da-da. Do you feel guilty? Are you you're upset, of course, but do you feel guilty? Do you feel you should have done something more? Da-da-da-da-da. If the answers to those questions are yes, that's usually the block, because as long as you're in negative energy, that spirit can't come through to you very easily.
So interesting. Okay. Do you have to do anything to yourself in order to connect to the spirit that the person is calling?
No. No.
No?
One time in a reading, okay, so I used to tell people stuff, willy-nilly, like whatever her name is, that used to go and talk to people on the street. But I came to learn not everybody wants to hear your messages, whether they're from the living or the dead or their greater good or whatever. I finally decided it's an invasion of privacy. But once I sit down, or even if I'm standing, to do a reading, to do a session, however it's going to happen, there's a switch in me that takes me where I need to go. And all I need to do is be, okay, I'm doing a session now. And that's all I need to do. Yeah, that's
Okay.
all. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I get that. Yeah. Okay. So whatever that is, and it's a decision, and then it opens up that way. So cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And
the flip side of that is I can turn that off because I don't need to be in everybody's business all the time. That's exhausting.
Well, one of the things I was thinking about when we showed up to the conference was there's a lot of sensitive people in this room. right? How are we all going to, be able to stay focused and not feel, because, I remember one of my first experiences with a psychic fair was 18. My best friend and I, Veronica, went to a psychic fair, right? And I mean, like, I almost fainted on the spot.
Yes, yes.
I walked in and I just thought, oh, this is so intense. Like, I felt so many feelings, and the next time I can remember feeling that, if you can believe it, is at the Royal Winter Fair. Mm-hmm. We went to look at the animals, and I got overwhelmed. I didn't want to be there anymore. I felt like I could feel, what the animals in the cages were feeling, and I didn't know how to shut it off. And I also I didn't want to be there around that. It was sort of overwhelming. And would you say that is the ability to turn it on and off? Is that something you had to cultivate, or have you always known that you could do that?
I grew up on Treasure Island. There were hardly any houses on that island then. I was a free spirit,
Yeah.
And then I went to work at a psychiatric hospital. I didn't know how to use a key, because we never locked doors.
Oh my goodness.
So when I went to work in the psychiatric hospital and was assaulted with all that energy, of that energy, just the energy of a workplace, really, and then all the rest of it, I had to learn how to shut that off. And that's why I can turn it on and off now. Okay, it was a survival skill, and I had to learn that fast. It was like la la la.
Right.
Yeah. How do I use these 15, 20 keys to get into wherever I need to be? How embarrassing! But I'd never used keys really, and that was that whole business of locking down. When I retired and handed in the wad of keys, I thought, I've been locked up too. All these years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And how long have you been retired?
So 2006. 19
years.
Yes.
And I know from your Instagram that you enjoy camping throughout the summer. Is that right? Did you just lose me?
Yes.
Yeah.
You left me, so I don't
sorry.
know what happened there. Yeah. So yes, I love camping because it's just like being at home on the island for me. Yeah, and that outdoor and in nature, and I like to walk the rest of the year, but just to get up and hear those birds singing and being in touch with nature and grounded and on water, I think it's a healing thing that I need to do once a year.
Yeah, I must admit, I follow your Instagram stories and I think to myself, wow, this is kind of the life. Right? Because we tend to, I've been rethinking a lot, and last year gave me lots of opportunities to rethink what's important to me and what isn't.
Yes.
And this year I sort of have chosen the Suit of Pentacles as a something to explore my relationship with, and taking a page from Rachel Pollack's book about the Pentacles not just being about career and money, which like surface level certainly, but the magic of being the magic of aliveness, right?
Yes.
The magic in everyday adventures and even physics and gravity and a candle. I've got a candle lit over here, and just watching that and thinking like, this is magic. It doesn't have to be talking to spirits. It doesn't have to be, casting a spell. Like this in and of itself is absolutely engaging and magical, and raises my vibration, right? In the sense that I feel that excitement and joyfulness. And I love to just hang out, on the grass and, as you say, watch the birds or watch the water. And I could do that for a really long time. I didn't used to be able to. Certainly when I was little, I did, but I'd get bored so easily. But now I just think to myself, that is the value in living is that peacefulness.
I love, well, I'm an earth sign. And I always think of pentacles. That's the suit where we physically do things. The
Right.
other ones, we feel them, we hear them, we think about them, we're passionate about them. But if we want to do something, we need to sit there on the earth and say, okay, what direction am I going? How do I manifest this? How do I physically get something to happen? So it's a great suit to physically get things to happen.
Yes, absolutely. How can somebody learn how to, now I know you offer courses with this as well,
Yes.
but how does somebody learn how to scry with a crystal ball?
Yeah. Well, so you sit and do nothing. Yeah, crazy answer. But the best way is that we're so lucky with all the water around here is to go and sit and look out over the river or the lake and just look at the top of the waves and let it roll by and let it get your focus and just let it be and see what comes to you. All right. The other way, of course, is to get a crystal ball. I'm amazed at how expensive they've become. So you don't have to start with a really big one. Let me just reach around here. I think my first one was was about this size. So that's not that big. All right. And it worked wonders. I've done scrying with a large tumbled stone. I need to put this someplace so it doesn't roll away on me. They don't sound great when they hit the ground. But the other thing to do, once you get your crystal or sit in front of the river, is to just find a spot inside that crystal. I like them that have inclusions in them. I find it really hard to read a perfectly clear one, probably because I don't get my mind still enough. And this is sort of like a 3D puzzle. You just kind of sit there and look, and nothing changes in the crystal ball, but every time I look at it, it's different in there. All right. I've got two images. This could be the Hermit. All right. So, and you pick images, like what could this be and what does it mean to me? All right. This feels like a hermit to me, and this is 2025 is the year of the hermit. So we're all going within and we're all listening to what we need to do, much like that star card. But behind this is this exalting figure of sort of bigger than life expanding, I think, out of the river. Out of the water. And so it's like know yourself and then be yourself, exalt. All right. Most of us don't know how to exalt, but really this is a time for us to know what we can do and then do it in as big a way, even if it's a tiny thing. So so how do you learn? You say, okay, what does this look like? What does it make me think of? How does it apply to me or to my client or to the world at large right now? I had one time a person wondering about love. Of course, that's the major topic for most people. And there was like a mask, like it could have been a fireman or somebody like that, but it was way back in the ball. So that tells me it's not here right yet. It's coming, but it's back here. And, maybe it'll get to you, maybe it won't. Turned out the person was a welder.
Oh, neat.
Okay? So when she heard that when the fellows told her he was a welder and, what it was involved, she knew he was on his way, and here he was. So, so it's you let your mind cast and say, what does this look like to me? You can buy books that tell you if you see this, it means this. I don't see what they tell me to see. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is why I haven't really got into teacup reading, because I get hung up on, oh, well, I've got to see a seahorse because it means family. It's the only thing, I've got to see this because it means that. I don't memorize those things. So, yeah.
Yes, I love that. It really speaks to, I think, part of the goal of the podcast in general, but my own experience of just finding my own way with whatever I happen to be practicing. And so, tarot is my first, I guess, sort of telepathy, let's say, that became an interest in high school. And then sort of psychic abilities, what do they mean? And then I was given a tarot deck by my best friend when I was 23. And then that's been part of my life ever since, but not really seriously. And I say seriously with, tongue in cheek, because what's really serious anyway, for the last however long. But I find that I rebel against the stiff structures. I mean, I like to know, I like to know the structure of tarot, but I really do find that sometimes a card is not speaking to me in the same way that the books say. And as well as I know that the books are going to give you hundreds of different ways to look at the card anyway. But the most profound knowings are from just the knowing.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I learned with tarot and with crystal ball reading is I was afraid to open my mouth, because I didn't want to look weird, out of my mind, all of those things. And I was afraid to open my mouth. But with both learning to read tarot and, for me especially, scrying, once I start to speak out loud, it flows. Okay? I've learned to just let it speak out loud and just let it flow and see where it takes you, because you'll get a really good reading. You will give a really good reading doing that. Where if you're critiquing yourself in your head, oh, that's not what that card means. Oh, what's this thing of being exalted mean? You're done. You're not going to go anywhere. You can't. I can remember being downtown, and one of my first gigs downtown, and a hockey mom came for a reading. Okay, a hockey mom. And some of the hockey moms were friendly and some of them weren't. And I froze. I had an anxiety attack. They were all ready to send me to the hospital. No, just go away and leave me alone. Get me a ginger ale and I'll be okay. But it was, I had to trust myself finally and just go with it. And if I had stopped that day, I would never have done readings again. But, and that hockey mom was the sweetest hockey mom on earth. She wasn't one who was going to do me in. So it's very interesting that being able to trust yourself to just speak out loud and say it is a huge hurdle for a lot of people who want to do readings.
Right. What were you going to say?
I will do a little, I've learned to be more tactful, because when I started, I was a little too blunt, and, people, you got to give the information in a way that people can process it. I've learned that, Oh, yeah, this guy's a loser. You better just take a hike. Oh, yeah, done. Yeah. Oh, you have 5 kids with him? Oh, well, maybe it'll work out. No. A little tactful can help a person hear, because when a reader taps into the deepest part of a person's soul, it's scary and wonderful at the same time. And so you've got to respect that this is something very large for that person receiving the information.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is part of communication, right? Is the understanding of how this person needs to hear this information. And we know well enough, you know, and I know that when you get a card,
Yeah.
you know, it might be a bit crispy,
Yeah.
right? They need to hear it.
Yes.
So how can we
Yes.
deliver it so that they can actually hear it?
And proceed. Because let's face it, most people come to us because they need help problem solving.
Yep.
Most people don't come to us when life is wonderful. They don't. They don't need us,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So where are they at in the story sometimes is the trick. I might ask questions to get to know where they are, what they're able to reveal and tell me so that I can then take it from there. Like, oh, this is where you are. Have you thought of this sort of? This seems to be where these cards are taking us,
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yep. That it's participatory in a way, or working. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I finally met you in person at the conference in October, I was struck immediately by your calm and generous energy. And I spoke to that a little bit earlier as well. And one of the sentences that shows up repeatedly in your materials is that it shows you how to love your future and find peace for your soul.
Yep.
And I
Yes.
love that so much. I wonder, can you speak to why that's so important to you?
There was a time in my life when my life was the devil in the tower, chaos and mayhem. There was my husband was sick, my sons were nuts, and I was, and I use that word flippantly, but they were very sick, actually, and not doing well, and neither was I. And what I wanted most was peace and eventually happiness. And I didn't think at that stage of my life that I would ever have peace in my soul ever, ever again. So what I searched for, and the tarot helped me find it, was how to find peace for my soul, how to be at peace with where I was at, and find that hope that you spoke of earlier, and how to move forward. And I think because the tarot helped me so much and helped me get to where I am today, that I can help other people. The whole process of what went on in my life at that stage brings you an understanding of life when it's bad, that you understand that weird, awful, terrible things happen to people when they had no idea that it was even possible for things to get so bad. And so maybe there's some humility there. If this happened to me, it can happen to anybody, because I thought I had everything under control and certainly did not. And so life gives you all kinds of lessons so that you can become a more tactful, kinder, loving reader, and that you can understand that this stuff just happens to people and it's not their fault. But the tarot and the crystals and the belief in themselves will help them move forward. And that's why I do what I do. So when I had no community when I started doing of tarot people and readers, when I started doing this full time, and creating that through. I used to do a psychic roundtable here in my home, and all kinds of things, creating that community and being with like-minded people, which shows up in the conference as the biggest part of that, was also part of it, because to realize you're not alone, you're not the only one going through awful things, and to be witnessed, not told what to do, not told you have to change or anything else, but people like you right now nodding your head saying, yeah, bad stuff happens. To get through it, you have to have support. and it might not be where you think it's going to come from. So that's why creating that vessel of community at the conference is so important to me. And I laugh when I see people connected on Facebook because they met in Kingston at the
Oh, yeah.
conference from sea to sea, you know.
Yep.
Alaska, we've had people from Alaska. So, yeah, we've grown.
I'm still in a group chat with the women at my table.
Yeah, great.
We felt very much, and said it over and over again, like it was definitely not a coincidence that we all ended up at that table together. It was like we'd known each other for years. It was wild. And I mean, I experienced that with people sometimes, where you meet somebody and you think, oh, I've definitely met you before in some other realm or whatever. But to have everybody at that table just be so instantly connected and on the same page was, it was just very validating, and it felt so positive and joyful, and like, all right, you know,
why not?
Well, yeah,
why not joyful? You know, because there's easy to be unjoyful. You're disconnected. Yeah. Why not joy? We don't allow it in our life that much.
No, we really don't, or we don't think we deserve it.
Yeah, exactly.
You
mentioned earlier that, that room, that full room of energy, can it be overwhelming? I think it's that connection at the tables, that people, that there's only 6 or 8 people at a table, and how do we come together, and we're in this together for the weekend. And I think that's how the energy gets dispersed from here to, okay, we're together. What are we doing? Right. I think that's how it happens.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I like that a lot. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right too. It makes it seem, I know that at certain points, one of us would feel overwhelmed over something because we'd be learning a new vehicle, right? We'd be learning Lenormand for the first time, or what's the one? Pendulums, you know. And I remember you sort of go, oh my goodness, and everybody helps you come back to the center. Okay, I just have to check this candle that is making noises over here, but that's okay. The candles in this room tend to light, spark and bubble and do all spit when things are happening. So things are happening. So as we wrap up today, I'm wondering if you feel like you would like to share any predictions, thoughts, anything helpful about the next little while, any sort of message that might come through for you that you want to share with folks.
I think we've already said it. It started with the star card.
Yeah.
Yes, there's chaos and mayhem, but work really hard at keeping yourself calm and connecting with the people who get you and your community, whoever they might be, and do the little things. And when called, we'll do the large things, but we can do the little things to keep ourselves whole and able to manage the day-to-day things and then the bigger things. I think that card was the perfect vehicle for what we need to know right now.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you for that. I think you're right.
Voice to say.
Yeah. Is the voice talking right now? What's he saying? He's like, tell her the truth. Okay. So, Marilyn, there's lots of different ways to work with you, and we'll certainly be posting that in the show notes. Do you have anything coming up? Well, we've got we've certainly got the conference coming up, not in 2025, but in 2026, right?
Yes, we do. And the website for that will be live very soon. I'm talking today, tomorrow with the speakers, so it's exciting.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you. I really appreciate your time and sharing all of this with us. I learned a lot. I loved hearing about how things show up for you, and I'm really interested now to go and do some scrying.
Yeah. Keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple. Exactly. Yeah. I've got lots of things around here. Yeah. You know what? I will say this. I love that you said it was rainbows, because that's come to me a few times. And it's just nice to have it confirmed.
Yes. Yeah, it could be many things, but for me, it's a spirit wants to speak. They're right there, ready to talk. We don't have to go looking for them. So, yes. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I love talking about all this stuff. What wonderfulness is it? Yes.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And I know we'll have to talk again. Lots more time.
All right. We'll talk a little closer once we know more about the conference, because, it's a shame that more people from Kingston and locally don't come.
We'll change that for next time.
That would be lovely.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Okay, we'll talk more. Okay.
Yes.
So, you can find out all the information and takeaways from today's episode in the show notes or at embracingenchantment.com. Please subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts, and we'd love for you to leave a review. You can also leave a voice note at embracingenchantment.com, and we might feature it in a future episode. Find out more about Marilyn and where to follow her in the show notes. And you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed, because we have some exciting episodes coming up. And make sure you catch up on previous episodes where we talk about tarot. Probably every episode we talk about tarot a little bit. Human design, the question of whether magic is real, ancestors, and so much more. Until then, here's to building an enchanted life. Thank you so much, Marilyn.